Take the 3 plywood components labelled 13, 13A and 13B. The dovetail joints are a very close fit, so don't assemble them without any glue, as they may be hard to separate. Apply a little glue as shown and press the parts together. Wipe away any excess glue with a tissue or a damp cloth and then repeat the same procedure for the bow frames 14. Take bow frame 13 and take the bulkhead from the previous stages and just test fit, making sure that 13 slots nicely into the indicated 13 slot on the bulkhead. Take bow frame 14 and slot that into the corresponding 14 slot on the bulkhead. This is just a dry fit, so do not apply any glue. Make sure that the bottoms of the bow frames meet with the bottom of the keel. Find the centre of both the wooden pieces that form the anchor stock and just mark them off with a pencil. Now draw a line at right angles across both of the wooden pieces of the anchor stock. Use a needle file to form a slot in line with the mark on the first half of the stock down to about halfway through. A small vise will help to hold the wood in place. The slot needs to be the same width as the shank of the anchor, so check that this will fit. Note that the points of the anchor go at right angles to the stock. File a slot into the other piece of the stock, ensuring that the two slots line up. Check that the two halves fit around the shank and don't leave a gap. Take both the parts, pressing them together, and just check carefully around the top of the anchor shank. It will be easier to fit the ring into the eye at the end of the shank now rather than after you have glued the stock into place. So open up the ring and pinch it back into position with a pair of pliers, as you can see here. Apply glue sparingly to one half of the stock. Apply a little to both the central slots. Press the two halves together around the shank, ensuring that they line up with each other. You can clamp politely using clothespins or clothes pegs, and they're simple alternatives to clamps or a vise, and leave this to thoroughly dry before we move on to the next part of this step. You can choose to stain the anchor now before applying the thread. Use the thin black thread to simulate the steel banding. To avoid any unsightly knot, make a loop near one end and lay it under the stock. Then start wrapping around the stock towards the loop. When you have enough turns, take the free end of the thread and pass it through the loop and hold it tight. Gently pull the free end of the thread until the loop and the end of the wrapping disappear under the binding. Now apply a drop of superglue. This will soak into the binding and secure the thread permanently. Then, using a sharp knife, trim off both the ends of the thread flush with the binding. The correct knot to use for the mooring line is a fisherman's bend. Start this by taking a turn through the brass ring. Then take the short end behind the long one and tuck it through the turn you just made. Now finish off by making another half hitch, then tighten the knot by holding the long end and pulling on the short one.